Hey nerds, what's up? Today we are going to start a new series I hope to do, which is the differences between books and their adaptations. Now, I actually had a lot of fun doing the Wheel of Time differences, and that's why I want to do some more, and I really wanted to start with The Princess Bride. Now, The Princess Bride is a movie I grew up on and was obsessed with, like many of you. It is the cult classic. I actually didn't even know it was a book until somewhat recently. I think it was in 2018 or 2019 that I finally took the plunge and read The Princess Bride, and was delighted by how much I enjoyed the book. But for some reason, I meet a lot of resistance when I talk about it. People seemingly just don't want to read the book and they're fine with the movie. So today we're going to talk about all the differences, what I think about the adaptation after reading the book, and let's get into it. So first, the beginning of the book is very different actually. Both the movie and the book have framing devices, but they're different framing devices. In the book, William Goldman waxes on about how he's abridged The Princess Bride from the original author S. Morgenstern, and how he's only taken out the good parts and that his abridgment is much better. He waxes on and on about how boring and tedious the original is, and if you haven't read it, I actually thought I was stupid when I read it because I was totally fooled. Like, I kept Googling, like, I don't want the abridged Princess Bride, I just want to read the original real version. And finally I got to a Reddit post that was like, ah, you have also been fooled by William Goldman. Luckily I found out it's not just me, and so many people I know have been fooled by this beginning. It's so convincing, but it is truly just a literary device that is used to tell the story of the Princess Bride. And like the narrator in the movie, it does come back often throughout the book where William Goldman will come in and make commentary on what's happening in the story. However, he does mention that his father read it to him when he was sick with pneumonia, so it does have a little bit of tie to the beginning of the movie. Okay, very similar here, although a little bit more humor and dramatics in the love than even what's shown here. But it says Buttercup was only in the top 20 beautiful women in the world, and she doesn't recognize that she loves Wesley until she gets jealous because a countess ogles him and visits, and then she confesses her love, and he leaves the next babe, but then says he loves her too. And that's how she becomes the first most beautiful, is because she was sad when he left. So most of this stays the same, except there was actually another princess to marry Prince Humperdinck first, the Gilder Princess, but it's revealed at the proposal that she's bald, and so Humperdinck refuses to marry her. It's sharks in the book, not eels, but I did want to mention that the narrator does come in and say the same thing as the grandpa in this, so that actually is the same in the book. So yeah. And just because I'd be interested if I hadn't read the book, Inconceivable is in the novel. That is canon. We get a long flashback into Inigo's childhood before this fight happens. You pretty much know the major details. They got it out pretty well in the movie, but it's just like more longer and detailed in the book. And so similarly, you also get a flashback to Fezzik's childhood, which is less covered in the movie, I'd say, although Greenland is there. But basically his parents encouraged him to use his size and strength to make classmates not bully him, even though Fezzik didn't want to do that. And soon he defeats everyone in multiple countries, but then audiences turn on him because the fights are too easy. Here we spent a little bit more time at each person separately and see what they do. For example, we see Fezzik find Vizzini's corpse. The biggest difference is Wesley is not taken to the pit of despair. It's actually called the Zoo of Death. So when they enter the pit of despair in the movie, actually in the book they have to go through 5 levels of the Zoo of Death. Level 1 and 2 just have scary animals in cages. Level 3, they get trapped by the world's most lethal snake and barely escape, only because Inigo applies that he has better rhymes for Fezzik, and he won't get to tell them if they die, so Fezzik defeats it. The 4th floor contains King Bats, which Inigo drives away with his sword, and finally the 5th level contains the world's deadliest spider, which they accidentally step on without realizing it. In the book, Max actually gives them a lump of clay instead of a chocolate pill. So here what's interesting is at the very end, they actually get confronted by Yellen and his brute squad, and Buttercup rescues them by saying she's the queen, and so they have to listen to her, and they need to go check on Prince Humperdinck's safety because that's her husband. So you will notice there are not that many differences. Obviously the book might be more detailed, as a book often is, but that's why I personally think, and I think a lot of people think, The Princess Bride is one of the most perfect adaptations ever. It has excellent casting, which honestly, I think the casting of the movie brings the book to life in a way I don't even think the book could. For example, would Inconceivable be as iconic without how we picture Wallace Shawn saying it? I have a hard time believing that in the book it came across the same way as Wallace Shawn uttering that in the movie. It just also perfectly gets to the heart of the story, cutting out just the right amount of things to still make sure that you hit everything. Now, I will admit, I think that this book to movie adaptation has extremely unusual circumstances, and it almost feels like the movie is just an extension of the book for that reason. And I know I've talked about this in previous videos, but in case you haven't seen them, William Goldberg, the author of The Princess Bride, was also a 2-time Academy Award winner for screenwriting, and he wrote the screenplay adaptation for his own book, the unique set of circumstances to have an author who also is a decorated screenplay writer, to have the knowledge to adapt their own book and also obviously know the heart of their book since they wrote it is such like a weird, unique situation that I don't really think we can compare The Princess Bride to other adaptations. Now, as for people who don't want to read the book, I'm personally so glad I read the book because just experiencing the beginning part about the abridgment and how thoroughly that fooled me was just such a pleasant experience and so funny. And I do think the book does have humor that's not in the movie that is really good. Of course, I'm always going to be more connected to the movie. I loved it so much as a kid, and because it is such a good adaptation of the book, it's not necessarily like I feel the need to go back to the book, but again, it's an experience I'm really glad I had. So yeah, I find this movie perfection. It's a perfect adaptation. I'd love to know what you guys think. I'd also love to encourage you that if you love the movie to just consider reading the book. It is a fast read, it is very funny, and I think you'll enjoy it. Please let me know, do you love The Princess Bride as much as I do? Were you obsessed with it? Have you read the book? What did you think of the book? Were you fooled by the beginning like I and so many others were? Let me know. Also, let me know if you're interested in me continuing this series. It's just something I'm trying out. There's a lot of other adult fantasy that got adapted that we could talk about. Maybe like Ender's Game, or The Circle, if we want to go different, by Dave Eggers, or The Lord of the Rings, which I think has been done a lot before, but maybe if we want to talk about it again, you let me know. And as always, if you like these kind of videos, please like and subscribe. And if you want to see what I'm currently reading, as well as other nerdy rants, like about how I'm feeling currently about the Obi-Wan show, you can check me out on Instagram at bookborn.reviews. I'll see you next time. Bye.